What if one single law turned a poor immigrant kid into a billionaire who controlled an entire city, bribing cops, judges, and politicians while running a secret empire worth billions in today's money? Imagine a government policy that didn't stop a popular habit but instead created the most explosive underground market in history, sparking brutal turf wars, widespread corruption, and fortunes that vanished overnight when the rules flipped. Al Capone wasn't just a ruthless mobster. He was a master businessman who exploited a massive flaw in the system, proving that banning something people want doesn't kill demand. It just hands the profits to those willing to break the law. Stay until the end, because the most shocking part isn't the violence, it's how the exact same economic forces are playing out right now in modern industries, shifting billions from shadowy operators to corporations and governments, with one emerging market poised to repeat the cycle on an even bigger scale. These hidden patterns could reveal where the next huge opportunities, or dangers, lie, and ignoring them might cost you dearly. Al Capone wasn't merely a figure in the criminal underworld, he operated as a shrewd entrepreneur in one of the most lucrative sectors ever shaped by American legislation. The era known as Prohibition didn't simply restrict a substance, it engineered an entire marketplace, eliminated legitimate rivals, and transferred control of distribution to those daring enough to seize it. This environment elevated everyday offenders into vast wealth holders, undermined municipal integrity across regions, and illustrated a fundamental economic principle. When authorities disregard persistent consumer interest, alternative providers emerge to fulfill it. Upon enactment of the constitutional change in 1920 prohibiting production, distribution, and movement of intoxicating beverages, officials framed it as an ethical campaign. They argued that removing access would curb associated social issues like wrongdoing, hardship, and household strife. Yet this stemmed from ideological conviction rather than practical assessment. Consumer appetite didn't evaporate. In numerous settings, it intensified. Absent lawful channels, values escalated dramatically, and the divide between regulation and actual behavior became the foundation for Capone's dominance. Born in 1899 in New York to modest immigrant roots, he entered illicit networks early. Relocating to a Midwestern hub during the restrictive period positioned him at the heart of a transformative underground shift. The commodity wasn't simply an indulgence, it represented an unparalleled resource. With aptitude for coordination, alliances, and decisive action, he excelled in capitalizing on the moment. His network extended beyond informal groups peddling discreetly. It formed a comprehensively structured operation rivaling legitimate conglomerates. He oversaw production facilities, importation pathways, and delivery systems, channeling output to countless hidden venues disguised as innocuous establishments, each compensating for reliable access. Annual revenues approached enormous figures for the time, equivalent to roughly $1.5 billion in current terms. Beyond accumulation, he prioritized integration into respectable channels. Earnings from unregulated trade required concealment, so investments flowed into eateries, entertainment spots, and cash-intensive ventures that obscured sources while providing visible legitimacy. Payments secured leniency from authorities, influencing officials at various levels. In a locale where restrictions had driven substantial activity beneath the surface, he functioned not as a mere violator but as a provider of livelihoods, supporter of causes, and even admired figure in certain communities. Core to his ascent wasn't solely force, applied strategically when required, but calculated handling of uncertainties. He recognized that the restrictive framework both enabled his gains and posed its primary threat: legalization would erode advantages swiftly. Thus, expansion into gaming, other vices, and related activities broadened scope, though the primary commodity retained primacy due to incomparable returns. Prior to restrictions, the product featured modest margins, widely available at reasonable costs across varieties. Outlawing it layered premiums at every stage, safeguards for transporters, intermediaries, and protectors. Escalated pricing encountered willing purchasers, as integration into social customs, celebrations, and routines rendered appetite resilient. Providers thus commanded artificially limited availability, a scarcity imposed externally. Legislators overlooked that suppression didn't diminish infractions, it scaled and organized them. The structure mirrored contemporary entities. Consolidated oversight from raw inputs to end users, dominance in territories, secured logistics, consistent quality perception, and extensive reach. Extraordinary yields derived not from superiority but from imposed hazards. Restrictions fostered an interconnected web of influence peddling. Funds circulated beyond internal circles to enforcers, adjudicators, administrators, and oversight personnel. Such practices weren't incidental, they underpinned functionality. When official mechanisms rely on unofficial inflows, application becomes negotiable rather than absolute. By the close of the decade, his influence permeated governance so deeply that civic leadership and underground operations intertwined inseparably. Enterprises succeeded or faltered based on alignments. Competitors sparked conflicts, including notorious confrontations, yet spectacles of force overshadowed the true bedrock: monetary command. This fiscal mastery rendered him formidable for an extended period. Authority rooted in legislation remains susceptible to legislative reversal. Shifting sentiments amid economic hardship in the early 1930s altered priorities. Potential lawful collections outweighed prior ethical stances, and his prominence as emblem of disorder facilitated targeted action. Direct charges proved elusive due to layered protections, so authorities pursued fiscal reporting violations. Conviction in 1931 led to substantial incarceration, ending his reign not through confrontation but administrative scrutiny. Repeal in 1933 dismantled the foundation instantaneously, established producers resumed, valuations stabilized, transforming former shadow dominance into overseen, contributory commerce. One of history's prominent illicit economies integrated into standard channels. The era's conclusion arose not from overwhelming opposition but from insurmountable economic realities. Appetite persisted irrespective of statutes, adaptation flourished, yields proved irresistible to containment. Contemporary parallels abound. Decades of prohibitions on certain botanicals sustained vast unregulated exchanges, directing resources to risk-bearers. Progressive normalization transfers advantages to formal entities and public coffers, mirroring prior transitions, only the item varies. Similarly, digital assets navigated ambiguous oversight initially, drawing pioneers and yielding substantial early returns amid lagging supervision. Increasing clarity consolidates participation toward established actors, compressing initial premiums. Analogous patterns appear in areas affected by international limitations, resource directives, or ecological guidelines. Restrictions rarely eradicate exchanges, they reroute them. Entities emerge to bridge discrepancies, whether involving fuels under embargoes, strategic materials under controls, or compliance instruments under standards. Gains reside in discerning divergences between mandates and requirements. Capone's narrative illuminates intersections of regulation, capital, and possibility, not wrongdoing per se, but exploitation of structurally induced constraints. Comparable discrepancies persist broadly. Astute observers, operating within bounds, capitalize preemptively. Contemporary insights include recognition that exchanges reflect influences beyond pure dynamics, shaped by rules, oversight, and implementation. Alterations redirect flows. Anticipating them constitutes advanced awareness. Imposed limitations, whatever origin, alter valuations, appetite, and margins. Identifying policy-induced versions enables forward positioning. Yet such arenas carry inherent instability. Abrupt terminations mirror past reversals. Reliance solely on regulatory voids renders accumulations transient, broadening safeguards essential. His ascent derived from superior environmental comprehension, descent from insufficient adaptation to shifts. This holds for contemporary participants across roles. The interplay of directive, limitation, and yield endures across evolving sectors where requirements exceed sanctioned provision. Precedents may vary in detail, yet ignorance invites consequence. If this reframed your understanding, consider subscribing. Historical patterns reveal ongoing pathways. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, it really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you so much for watching.